Okay, introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what the Mixo is and what the goal is for the company.
Yeah, so I'm Marcus, and we set up Mixo, let's see, about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And as you said, the problem for DJs, right, is that you've got all your precious music on your laptop, all your tracks, your MP3s, your WAVs, your FLACs, your ALACs, whatever you've got, and you don't know, you can't get them. It's very hard to move them from one laptop to another or to get them onto your phone. And ever since vinyl, the thing about vinyl was you can take it with you, right?
It's a pain in the ass, but like it's awesome to have.
You get a bit of backache, right?
Yeah. I was very happy to go to the laptop. I have to say, the second I didn't have to carry this stuff around, I was like, yes, finally. Yeah. And so you guys took it to the next step of I don't have to think about this again, which is a huge deal.
So then obviously started to be a thing, and you can you can get libraries of streaming now. But every DJ has got their own music library that they've built up over years, and they've either come from CDs or vinyl, or they've wanted to make sure that they can get their music from record pools or download from Beatport or wherever. And but there's never been a way to listen to your own music on your phone. There are some ways, like you can, on Android, you can just copy the audio files over, but the players are pretty...
Yeah, exactly. They're not DJ centric or DJ friendly, I would say.
Right. I mean, it's barely music friendly. It's definitely not DJ friendly. The biggest issue, the first issue that you run into is playlists, right? Because if you want to have a playlist with, if you want a track to be in more than one playlist, if you've organized it in your directory structure on your computer or on your phone, as soon as you start trying to add tracks into different playlists, that's a pain. So what else can you do on your phone? There's a few apps where you can save media, videos, or audio. Again, like drag it for, across the Wi-Fi. But they're not DJ centric, and they're not gonna get all your cue points and waveform and all that kind of stuff. You can play tracks directly from Dropbox or Google Drive or similar. But again, you've got a playlist issue because you're just looking at directory of files, basically. But also the media players leave quite a lot to be desired.
I mean, this is also true. They don't work that great. And I think for DJs, we're more interested in our cue points and, our organization and that kind of stuff. And you guys addressed all of that. So can you kind of expand upon how the company was founded and, what was the driving force for why you guys had to get into this space?
So, so the original idea came from, so I only learned to DJ a few years ago. And before that, I've been a music lover and clubber all my life. Okay. And so more from the consumer side rather than from the stage side. And but when I started learning, I was like, okay, so I've downloaded the music that I've bought and downloaded the music that I want, or I've subscribed to some record pools. I've got some cool tunes, but I want to be listening to that music over and again. I want to really get to know my library. I want to really understand my tracks, and then I want to put them into playlists that are going to become set lists that I'm going to play for a gig. So I can do all of that on my laptop when I'm sitting at my laptop at my desk or in the studio. But I want to be able to do that on the train.
Exactly.
And I want to listen to the music, my music, that music that I've downloaded when I go for a run. And at the moment, you can't take your laptop for a run, can you?
Yeah. It's complicated. You kind of shriveled it down and got it into a tiny space in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And, that was the original concept of the iPod, right? It was 10,000 songs in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
And what amazed me when coming into this space and understanding who all the players were and that, the different software that existed, is that nobody had already said, okay, well, clearly, you want to be able to have your music on your laptop, but you also want to have it on your phone. And how does that all work together? So that was how the idea came about. And I've got a history of tech and innovation and websites and all that kind of stuff. So I've got that tech side, and I've got a team of people who I've worked with for years who are amazing. And we were looking at doing something fun and geeky and but also in the music space. We all absolutely love music and DJing and clubs and festivals, and so for me it was the genesis of those two things, the tech and the music, coming together. And one of the things that I've personally most enjoyed about the last couple of years has been meeting all the people in music tech who love music and tech, and bringing those things, basically quite a lot of what I didn't realize before is a lot of DJs are quite geeky.
That's true. Well, I think for DJs, we have to problem solve on our own, because we don't have a lot of companies that are interested in the space. So a lot of DJs have to figure out a way to do something. And you guys, you've kind of filled that void for a lot of issues people had. So what has been the response from, I guess you kind of touched upon it, but what has the response been from a lot of the DJs in the community? Have they been excited about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think we've had a really, really good response. The challenge for us has been making sure that we've got a product that is absolutely robust, reliable, works every time, and is, completely battle tested. And we're still doing some of that. We're still in beta. We launched Mixo Gold, which is the paid service, last week. But we are still in beta, which means, we're figuring out all the bugs. And I remember actually around the time I started, Rekordbox had only just started coming into its own. And I don't know if you remember, but at the 5 or 6 years ago, they were struggling to get that, real reliable base. And obviously now, being a pioneer product, they've got a real sort of market leading share. So we're just focusing on making sure it's absolutely battle tested and robust at the moment. But the feedback's been great. So we've got loads of beta testers, and the thing that we've loved the most is people. And there's some people who just keep coming back and back, and they're like, and then we're like, we fixed that, and then like, okay, that's working now, or that's not working. It was mostly working, and then just helping us. And that was one of the things I saw before we even started doing this, was the community. So yes, it's problem solving on your own, as you say, but there is also a community, out there around the world of other DJs who are sort of trying to help each other and want to, to go on that problem solving journey. Obviously, everyone's set up is a bit different. Everyone has different hardware, software, controllers, vinyl, all that kind of stuff. But the community aspect has, I think, surprised us in how engaged and enthusiastic people are. And the thing is, every DJ, even if you're doing lots of streaming, every DJ is going to have a downloaded music library of some sort. And if you're going out,
I mean, one of the things I think that's interesting about your company is that you guys basically cover all of the major software players. Because usually, when a company comes up with something like this, they'll handle the big boys, so like Serato, and maybe they'll get to Rekordbox, and then that's it. But you guys are like Traktor, virtual DJ, mix DJ. Like, you guys cover everything, which I find fascinating, because it's a thing where your guys are worried about the smaller players as well as the larger players that everybody expects to go to. And was that always the philosophy, like just to get behind everybody and try and help everybody you can?
Yeah, 100%. So that is about, so our core belief is that you, the DJ, should own your own library.
Yes.
So that's, but it's not just your music, which you can back up all your files. It's actually also your cue points, all the beat grids, and all the playlists and all the metadata. And the thing is, when you buy a track and download it, it may or may not come with some metadata. You may or may not run it through, you know, key, you know, mixed in key or something like that. You may use a tag editor to get all your tags sorted, all that kind of stuff. But you do quite a lot of work, and then you get it into your DJ software, and then you're going to make sure the beat grids are, you know, right, and then you're going to put it in a playlist or some playlists, and then you got it in your history of the gigs you played and all that kind of stuff. And all of that work that you do and that whole library actually has a massive value to every single DJ.
Yes.
And it's completely personal to every single DJ, right?
Yes. I would argue that the cue points in your playlist is probably as valuable as the music itself. Like, you put hours and just blood, sweat, and tears into organizing this thing. So it's vital that you get to keep it the same way. Because you could probably, especially because everything's digital online, so you can probably get most of your songs back, if not all of them. But the hours you spent setting up this little drop here or this loop here and this kind of thing is just gone. And it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
So and no one's really considering that.
Yeah, yeah. That's not, I definitely, I think that your library and the layout is more important, if not, because you know what, we could talk about this. We've just had this major shift for Mac OS to go to Big Sur, and I made a couple of videos about it on my channel, and it has been an absolute headache for a lot of DJs in that space. And I think that your company kind of can alleviate the issues that people had where they upgraded to Big Sur, but their software, the DJ software, wasn't ready. And so a lot of people had to revert back, and it caused a colossal headache. So I think that it's very interesting for DJs to have a situation like this where you guys are the exact thing they needed coming out right now as they need it. So can you talk about I guess Big Sur and the challenges of trying to I guess adjust to both operating systems and trying to cover migrating your information from one computer to another?
Yeah. So you know there's going to be another Big Sur, right? Whatever the next one. And the Windows users have got off a bit light recently, but there'll be some other thing for Windows, right? The next thing, there's always something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things I've learned about DJs is obviously, you know, generally speaking, every time one of these things happens, DJs are like, okay, I must not upgrade. I've got to be slow. I've got to.
That's the rule number one: is don't do it. Doesn't matter how shiny it looks. Don't do it.
And of course there was Catalina before Big Sur, and then that was the whole iTunes change and all of that, and that was about the time that I came up with the idea and all that kind of stuff. And actually, just coming back quickly to your other point about the all the different DJ softwares, my whole thing is, you know, a software like this, it needs to work. You know, we spent a huge amount of time making sure that we can work with every file type. So do you know how many different types of ALAC and FLAC?
There's a lot.
Because you've got all the codecs and all that kind of stuff, and it's a complete headache. But what we got to do is we got to make sure that from the user's point of view, it's not a headache, and it just works with whatever file format that you've got. And on, you know, every computer hardware and on every phone, you know, and it just makes it extremely, extremely easy for the user. So that's the same transitioning from Catalina to Big Sur, or, you know, Mojave to Catalina, or whatever it is, which is the thing about Mixo is once you have a way that you can back up your library and take it with you, separate to the file. I mean, obviously you've got to still have all the files, but if you know that you've got all the files, and then you can take the library, and that can go on a Mac, or it can go on a PC.
Yes.
And it can go into Serato, Rekordbox, Traktor, Virtual DJ, you know, DJ Pro, you know, whatever it is.
It's a huge deal being able to transfer between different DJ software and different computers. I think that's the biggest draw or selling point for what you guys are doing.
And there's been some tools that have been sort of Mac only that do some of, you know, bits of this or bits of that, and you know, but again, our whole thing is to work on every platform. And on the desktop platforms, you know, we feel that we're going to be able to keep pace with that pretty quickly with the technology that we use, which is used also by Skype and Slack and lots of tech, lots of more modern tech. And again, the problem that the DJ software companies have got is that, you know, particularly with the performance. So Mixo is not a performance software. It's not a competitor to, you know, Serato or Rekordbox, because you're not playing out your gigs with it. It's about library management. It's about getting it on your phone. It's about backup. It's about moving computers. But the performance software, when Big Sur comes out and your Serato, Traktor, Rekordbox, you know, virtual DJ, you've got to make sure that not only can you support that jump, but there's got to be absolutely no steps backwards where you're playing out at a gig. And actually all of the, or some of the major DJ performance software have had this problem where actually, you know, you get crackles or pops, or in a worst case, a complete crash, or that kind of stuff. And if you're playing live, that is, you know, it's a DJ's worst nightmare, right?
Absolutely. So can you expand upon what the difference between the regular Mixo is and the Mixo Gold?
Yeah. So so the desktop app will let you use what we've called the bridge, and the bridge is going between different DJ software. So your Rekordbox, your Serato, your Traktor, your virtual DJ. You can go in and out of CSV files, which are just your standard text files, or an M3U file, which is a standard text file, different format. And your XML and your ML, which is Traktor. And so the bridge is free in the desktop version. So you can download Mixo on Mac, Windows, or Linux, and you can import your library from Rekordbox, Serato, Traktor, Virtual DJ, all the others. And then you can export it to a different DJ software. And again, all the music files stay where they are. We're not going to touch those. But if you're importing from, say, Traktor, which is an NML format, you can then export to Rekordbox XML or to Virtual DJ XML, and we'll convert the structure of the file so that it can be read by the other DJ software. And that's all included in the desktop version of Mixo, which is free. And then Mixo Gold, which is what we launched last week, that is the cloud. Excuse me.
That's okay.
I got it. Quick draw. So Mixo Gold is the cloud component. So with that, once you've got your library in Mixo, you connect to your Google Drive or your Dropbox, on which topic you were asking me about supporting every operating system, every DJ software. One of the most requests that we've had is from people saying, I don't want to use Google Drive or Dropbox. I want to use OneDrive or my own hard, you know, cloud drive, or I want to use Mega Upload or whatever it is. So, you know, in the future, we would love to be able to support every, you know, cloud as well. So that you can choose whichever cloud you want to upload to. And remember that that's your own cloud. So it's not storing it in our servers. So it's your own cloud that we're going to upload it to. So we don't have access to, you know, we're not storing your music for you. And so Mixo Gold is you upload your music to the cloud, and then you can get it on your phone, and you can move it to a different computer, laptop, or a desktop. So on the phone one, it's going to mirror your entire library from your laptop on your phone, and then it's going to stream those tracks from your Google Drive or Dropbox. So there's no files stored on your phone, unless there's going to be a little button like you have on Spotify or whatever, where you can download per playlist. Because obviously, out of the box, you don't want to download your entire DJ library to your phone. They're going to blow up.
500 gigabytes. This is insane. I can't do that. So can you expand upon like because your system is that you were like, we want to get this out of our hands. This is your stuff. And you're using third-party platforms to store your actual data that people are comfortable with. And because that's kind of a big deal. So you're basically selling, hey, everybody, trust us with your music, whatever, and let's put it on like our server or whatever. And you guys are like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to give you guys full control over. So if you're not comfortable with Google Drive, you can use Dropbox or whatever. Can you expand about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think going back to the point about it's your library and you own it. We don't own it, and we don't want to, be even, storing that music for you. So we want to use your own Google Drive or Dropbox, or in the future others.
Well, it's a big ask for DJs to be like, hey, let me give you all of my stuff.
Right, because we're protective, right? And also your library is very personal to you. So that was a big factor in the design of all of this at the start. Was it's your library, you should own it. And so what we are going to be storing is all the metadata, so the playlists and the track info. But again, you can export that and import it, but you can export that on any computer. So you still are owning that, and you can have it as a text file, you can have it in Mixo, you can back it up and all that kind of stuff as well.
I think that's a huge feature.
Yeah, so it's about giving the user, it's your library, and giving you the power to look after that and take it with you wherever you want to go.
I'm a big fan of keeping control over what I'm doing.
I can see where you got all your vinyl behind you, right?
Make sure I know where this stuff is all time. So, but yeah, so I always found that when I saw your company and what you guys are trying to do, I was like, okay, yes, this makes sense, and it kind of, you get around the issue with the record companies and the music, because they're very particular about how people use the songs and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of companies that they have issues with licensing and this kind of stuff, and you got around that completely because you're not handling it. That's not your problem. It's for you as the user to deal with.
I mean, what we're handling is your metadata. So, the track name, your cue points, your beat grids, actually all the stuff we were talking about earlier that you're spending all the hours and hours creating.
The most important part.
Yeah, the most important part. And that's the bit that we're looking after, but we're also giving you the tools to be able to move it in between different formats and, all of that kind of stuff. And, at the moment, you can upload your entire music library to Google Drive or Dropbox.
That's also true.
Already.
Yeah.
And you can play it there already. It's just a bit clunky and a bit rubbish. So we're just making the experience better. It's sort of what people are doing already, just making it better.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk to you about the roadmap on the website, which I think is probably the most ingenious thing of any of these companies. I wish Serato and Rekordbox would be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. What kind of features would you like? What are you looking forward to? And you guys laid it out in a brilliant way. It explains where you are in the cycle, and you have a page to give updates for what's happening, and a place for people to get suggestions. So, everybody's on the same page about what you need, because I think a lot of companies are flying blind and kind of guessing what they think the customers want. And you guys are like, hey, let's talk directly to you, figure out what you guys need.
Yeah, so you can also vote on other people's suggestions, and then you can subscribe to a suggestion. So when we then update that and say yay or nay, or, these are our thoughts or that sort of thing, you'll get an email saying, hey, or if it's done, we're like, hey, it's done. And you get an email going, hey, that feature you asked for, it's done. And you're like, hey, this is cool. It comes back to what I was saying about community earlier. And, we use a lot of tech products ourselves, and it's always driven me. There's two things that drive me bonkers. One is when you can't when there's not even any sense that you can contribute to a company's roadmap, or say, look, this thing's really annoying.
Like, I need to fix this one thing. Like, hey, can you look at it? Yeah. Because I think a lot of companies have forums, but I don't know how much they dig into the forums to figure out what people are really saying. Because there's a lot of stuff that people are begging for, and companies just skip right over. Like, they'll get to it eventually. And you're like, we want to know exactly what you want right now. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's always a balance for every company, because you've also got to get all the underlying, infrastructure and functionality sorted, and the sort of boring parts of it, but really, really important parts. And some of the features that a user might want might break other stuff. And, so there's always a balance. But
Yeah.
again, I want it to be really community driven. And then the other thing is not being able to contact a company. So where we've come from in web design, our USP was always we would answer the phone within 3 rings and we'd reply to emails within an hour.
Yeah.
And what drives me nuts is when you email a company and you get a response a week later. It's just
yeah.
You know, we live in a world that's a lot faster than that.
Oh yeah. It definitely makes sense. And
so we're doing live chat. We got the forum, we got the roadmap, you know, and we got support ticket system and, you know, all that kind of stuff. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to use Mixo and give us feedback, and then we can improve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of, it shows that I think as a company, you guys are on the forefront and trying to be as active in the community as possible. And I think it adds to the value for the company, because they're like, okay, well, these guys are going to be here they're going to be around for a while, and I can trust to put my money behind what these guys are doing, because, you know, they're listening to me. That's one of the biggest issues a lot of people have, is that they feel like they're isolated and they're just alone in this thing. Because for DJs it's a singular job. It's not really a job as a group. And so everybody's in these little tiny islands, and they got their issues, but I don't think people really listen to the issues that well.
Yeah, but also, you know, there might be someone over here that's got the same issue as someone over here, but if they can't, you know.
Yeah.
So I think the community thing is really big, and especially the last few years with, you know, the explosion of YouTube and Facebook groups and WhatsApp, and, you know, there's a much more user-centric tech model coming through, generally speaking, I think.
For sure. How has it been with the last year, with all the craziness in the world? How's been the development cycle been for the updates? Because you guys just launched a major update just a little while ago.
I mean, you mean with COVID and
that
sort of thing? I mean, obviously, the biggest issue is that DJs' lives have been turned upside down. You know, if you were you know, if you had a 9 to 5 before and you were DJing at the weekend, then, you know, it's taken away something that was a really special part of your life, but you still got your income. You know, but if you were a full-time DJ, a touring DJ, or a full-time mobile DJ, or a sort of festival, you know, DJ, the last year has been, you know,
absolutely
brutal. And so it's been weird trying to build something, to build a startup at a time when the industry that we're in is going through such turmoil, and that does feel weird. And, you know, there's some light now. It feels better. Like, I think all of us can see some, you know, getting back to playing gigs, but you know,
I think it's kind of weird because it depends on where you are. There's a lot of places like in America that it's just going full steam and everything's fine. And there's places, I live in Canada, and over here, we're like, DJ, what's that? We have more important things to do right now. And you guys are in England too. And, you know, it's kind of similar situation there.
I mean, from our point of view, from a Mixo point of view, you know, on the one hand, you know, DJs won't be DJing as much. On the other hand, they might have a bit more time to, you know, figure out their library and that kind of stuff. So, but it's, like I said earlier, it's more, from our point of view, it's more about getting this a level of quality that we're aiming for, where the product is that robust, battle tested, working for everybody. And, you know, it's a hard ask. Every DJ software, you know, every computer library platform. Obviously, you can't import on Linux because you won't, there's no DJ softwares on it. Well, there is one or two, but you know, if you're on the Mac and you use a Linux machine at work, you can go listen to your whole DJ library, you know, on your work laptop, that sort of thing. So from our point of view, it's been more about head down, get on, deal with, you know, our challenges have all been about, you know, as you say, about the development, about getting it working, about, you know, communicating with the users about what they need and bug fixing and all that kind of stuff. But from a personal point of view, I can't wait to get out and do gigs. I've done a few in here, but you're kind of just shouting at your garage, right?
Well, one of the things that I think is very interesting about the company is that you guys have done an amazing job just doing tutorials and kind of showing people exactly how to do stuff. As I think that, you know, people just kind of, they do a FAQ or they do it's just a light PDF file about it. The stuff is over here. You can kind of look for it. But you guys went through the whole task of shooting a lot of videos, explaining how to move things over here, kind of show you how it works, and just making people's lives easier to transfer into this company.
Yeah, but again, I mean, that's the modern way, right? That's the YouTube community model. I've actually got a long list of videos to build. I'm going to do every DJ software to every other DJ software.
Oh, wow. You got a lot of work to
do. Yeah. Maybe we should meet up again once I've done that. If I might need some help.
Absolutely. I could talk to you again on this.
I mean, look, the community picks up what you were saying before. The community picks up, right? So there's a lot of YouTubers who will do all those tutorials on behalf of the big brands because, you know, that there's a content element to it there. But yeah, as a company, we want to try and, you know, get across the vision and get across, you know, how the software works and what you can do with it and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the visual aspect of it, people sometimes need to see the visual cues to be like, oh, okay, this is what it is. And this is what I can do with my laptop or whatever. And it makes more sense when you can see what you're going to do and how it works. I guess it kind of helps a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
Just selling the platform. All right, well, listen, thank you for coming down. I don't want to take too much time, but I appreciate you guys coming down and talking to me. I got a small, tiny channel, but sometimes when I make videos, they make a lot of noise. Sometimes they don't. This is one video that I want my community to see and definitely know about the company. And I appreciate you coming on board today.
Cool, 100%. It's an absolute pleasure, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you.